Welcome to the UI experience. Welcome to the UI experience.
What's up, people? Welcome to the UI Daily Show number 22 for this Thursday, September the 18th, 2014. Yours truly, Jalal Tariq, here, about to start our usual Gab Fest. We're going to deal with some very serious situations today. And I kind of wanted to see what everybody's thoughts and everything else was on these particular topics. And before I go there, I want to just let everybody know that, basically how I get my ideas. I scour the world of online news. I watch feeds. I read blog posts in different magazines or what have you. And from there, I think about, well, how does this particular situation affect us as a people? And that's how I end up coming up with my inspiration for what I want to talk to you about. And for topic number 2, and probably some of the topics in our free-for-all, we're going to deal with those things. But that being said, as we start our shows every day, we stress to our listening audience and those who will listen to this later on in a podcast on YouTube or what have you, we stress to you guys the importance of donating to your own cause. A lot of times we want things to change. We are behind people who are trying to get those changes done. But what we don't do is we don't realize that all those things cost money. Like we are often fond of saying, hey, the revolution may not be televised, but it still needs to be funded. So, with that being said, you can join our particular group, Urban Intellectuals. You can become a paid member of Urban Intellectuals. And for the very low cost of $24 a year, you can be a part of something that's hopefully going to change your life or going to assist you in your desire to actually make it to the next level. So I urge everybody to go to urbanintellectuals.com/members if you want to become a paid member of the group, or you can go to urbanintellectuals.com/donate if you just want to donate to the cause. Okay. Topic number 1. Last week, or a few days ago, what have you, we dealt with a definition of what UI is and what we are trying to do. Today, I want to start off by basically talking about respecting our brand. What a lot of the members of the group, either the 50,000 that's a member of the general group or just the 4,000 or so that's members of open discussion, whether you post or not, what y'all don't realize is that Urban Intellectuals is actually a thing now. And just like with anything else in this world, the only way it's going to be successful is if people actually have the correct view of what makes us who we are. What we will not tolerate is imposters. Over the last week or so, I've posted a couple of times in Open Dis, writing team, blogging team, and some of the other groups that we will not accept people posting ratchet videos on our page. And let me tell you why. It's not because we want to stifle you in your efforts to be creative. That's not the case at all. But what we have to do is we have to realize that because we are a thing now, there are people who are going to try and tear us down. So when we go through our list of people to add to the group, and we might see your page is a black face, or go in there, I see quotes from, Martin Luther King or Malcolm X or what have you. We click accept. Now, all of a sudden, 2 weeks later, you got a white face, and all you posting is World Star Hip Hop. You will be removed. That's why we tell the people who really want to be a part of this, the people who really want to move this forward, don't post it. Don't post it, because we don't have time to go through each and every little ratchet thing that hits our page to decide whether or not it was something that you truly wanted to talk about, or whether or not you just a troll trying to put some garbage on our page. So we basically removing you from the group. There's a white girl that I removed yesterday, or that I had removed yesterday because I couldn't do it on my phone, but she's tried to get back into the group 4 times now. She has one picture, white girl taking a selfie, and every last one of the things she want to put on the page is some bullshit. Negroes fighting. Niggas being niggas in nigger areas. Things that we not about. So that's why I tell y'all, just whatever you want to talk about, fine, describe it. I saw a video of 2 women fighting. It was so ghetto. What do y'all think about it? Some of y'all are as erudite as I am. Some of you have a command of the language that I don't even have. You can describe what you want to talk about without showing us a picture of some drunk lady, some dope thing, 2 people fighting, somebody beating somebody, somebody robbing somebody. We don't need to see that. We know it exists. Okay, I'm off my soapbox. Patrick, what you think?
I think I agree with you, and I think you killed it, so it's dead.
Oh, well. That didn't take long at all, did it? Okay. Issue number 2, or topic number 2. I read an article today about the semi-controversy that's going on in medical circles concerning why most of the studies for the different drugs and the different therapies that cure or alleviate the symptoms of disease are basically studied with Caucasians' genomes in mind. Basically, all of the research seems to be, or the vast majority, the lion's share of the research seems to be going toward curing white diseases, making white people live longer. There's no studies that say, okay, for instance, take for instance a drug like Plavix, which is a blood thinner, helps you get over like heart attacks or something like that, whatever. What we found out later on was that the drug don't work in black and Hispanic people, but doctors prescribe it every day because it never was studied to see what its effects were going to be on different minority groups. And I kind of wanted to get you guys' thoughts, and since it's only you, Patrick, I guess I can pick your brain. I kind of wanted to get you guys' thoughts about what y'all thought about the fact that a lot of the drugs that we take that's prescribed by doctors have not been tested for safety on black folks. So what do you think about that?
It's something that has been spoken to on several different occasions in several different ways by several different people. And personally, I feel like it's something that people have been saying for a very, very long time, you know, and I think it really boils down to the fact that for so long, people have been talking about the whole I think it boils down in 2 different ways. Forgive me, I'm doing a bunch of different things at once. The radio is not staying on air, so I'm trying to figure that out.
Same thing that happened yesterday. Now you see what I'm talking about.
Yeah, but yesterday I clicked on air and it just stayed on air. At least we got the recording going, but I'm gonna submit a trouble ticket about that.
Yeah, pretty much.
But in any case, I think what we're dealing with when we're talking about that specific incident is the fact that, one, they continuously, people, I think, honestly believe that the differences in race are only skin deep without paying homage and really understanding the biological, the cultural, uh, the social aspects of our lives that have a direct impact on our genetic makeup. They're especially not considering the biological components that are different in each of us. The differences between black people and white people are not just skin deep. It's deeper than that. You're talking about a difference in genetics, but for so long and that's been one of the things that I think has been preventing black people from accepting the fact that when our black scholars tell us that we need to be doing more studies on black people, and that every study that white people do for them needs to be reproduced on black people, every time we have that discussion, you get met back with the whole, well, race is only skin deep. So I think we need to dispel that avenue. As far as white people are concerned, I'm not surprised to find out that I'm not surprised to know that white people are only studying white people and that the primary focus groups are only filled with white people. And the excuse for that for so many years has been, especially after the civil rights, has been the majority of Americans are white people, so we get a sample size similar to the population, meaning
Right.
we're going to have 50 white people, one black person, one Latino person, and a half of Asian and a half of whatever else.
But a mixed Asian Pacific Islander or something.
But most of the people are going to be white, but now, maybe now, and I won't even say maybe now because I really don't believe that, but now that work and study after study is coming out to show that the things that don't really affect white people have major effects on black people, and the things that don't really affect black people have major effects on white people. And that speaks to another point of the whole nature of racism nowadays is its indifference to race. It's not that people are targeting you specifically. What it is they're ignoring you completely. And by ignoring you, they're doing what's in their best interest, and in most situations, what's in their best interest isn't in your best interest. And I think for the last 50 years, that's what black America has been experiencing. Not a complete focused attack of white America on black interests, but simply an ignoring of black interests altogether, which, in my opinion, is even worse.
I agree. I agree with that wholeheartedly. I was talking with an individual not too long ago, as a matter of fact, and I had put forth my admittedly uninformed, because I'm not a biologist, I'm not a chemist, I have a fairly good understanding of how DNA and RNA and how those things work, but I am by no means an expert in any of it. But just like most of the things, or most of the scientific breakthroughs that people have, had over the years, over the generations, most of the time it just comes from somebody sitting back and thinking about things a different way. I have always been of the mind that that was a good excuse for, not mixing races, is not necessarily that it had to be a law. If it happens, it happens. That's fine, right? But just like you might see two finches. The finch is a little small black bird. I want to say it's indigenous to the western parts of the world or whatever. But two finches that we can look at as non-experts, and even some experts might have to do a DNA test to find out that these two finches are two different species. They look like the same bird, they fly like the same bird, but you never see them mixing genes because there's a difference in their genetic structure, right? Now, of course, we know that some scientists, they force the matter, and they'll take a lion and cross it with a tiger and make a liger or a tyon or whatever they call them now. But we know that's going to happen. But in the wild, it hardly ever happens in the wild unless there was some kind of environmental stressor that was involved. But I've always thought mankind is an animal at heart. We are thinking animals, but animals still. The same thing that a killer chimpanzee will kill you. The same thing that will kill a whale will kill you, basically. You see what I'm saying? Because you're still a living organism, an animal in this world. And I've always thought that maybe that was biology's way of saying, okay, we're going to protect you as a general species of Homo sapiens. And if you'll notice, there are certain things that only kill white people. Just like there are things that only kill black people. When was the last time you heard of a white person with sickle cell? When was the last time you heard of a black person with Tay-Sachs disease? Or some of the other, little afflictions that's endemic to both people. And I always thought that if something happened, if a calamity happened on this planet involving some type of infectious disease or some type of biological organism, maybe it's clocked into our genes by history and by us being a living part of this whole net of life on this planet. Maybe that's why we are different. So one thing won't kill everybody. There'll still be a representative procreation population, for want of a better phrase, that's left if something goes on like that. But like I said, that's me. And that's just the way I look at it. And I think that like you said, there's a genetic thing where basically they really don't care about us, and basically we really don't care about them either, really and truly. The average one of us, we get on the radio, we get on the web or whatever, and we rail against white people this and white privilege that, and the way society, keeps us under their boot or whatever. But on an individual level, we really don't give a shit what white people do unless it's hurting us. We really don't care. And like you said, they the same way. They look at us like we look at trees, or they look at us like they look at ants or something like that. You know what I mean? Not that they would smash us under their boot. Oh, well, then again, maybe they will. But simply that they just don't pay attention to you. Think about it. If, for example, bee colony collapse, how many of us think about that on a regular basis? Yeah, we know this is going to be devastating to our way of life. People just don't realize just how important bees are to everything that you do in this world. That little bitty bee that you swatted because you think it's going to sting you or whatever, you can't do. We can't live the way we live without bees. And right now, they are under environmental stressors to the point where they might be extinct in the next few years. You see what I'm saying? But we don't care about it. We don't care because it's a bee thing. And they look at us the same way. It's a black thing. I see you over there. I see you trying, but ain't sticking.
I agree with everything you're saying. I sent Dan the trouble ticket, so we're waiting for them to get back. But in the meantime, at least we're recording, so we will have a show to put up later. But
exactly.
But I agree with everything you're saying. And what's even deeper is I really think black people have to dig deep into genetics. Black people need to understand. I think most black people need to have a basic understanding of biology. I think that will, and genetics. I think that will alleviate a lot. I saw a video and this is kind of off topic, but I saw a video on YouTube of what is considered to be a teacher of black history talking about white people came from the black people that had what's it called? when you can't produce pigment? Oh, it's right on the tip of my tongue.
Albinism?
Albino, yeah. He was saying white people were descended from the albinoid blacks. And now it's one thing to say white people were descended from blacks, from albinoid people in the sense that they didn't have any skin tone, but to say that they were directly descended from a tribe of people that had a genetic disorder that didn't allow them to produce melanin whatsoever is just
ludicrous.
Exactly. Like, and the video had, I want to say, maybe 600 or 700 likes, a couple thousand views, and everybody was like, I be trying to tell my friends this. So, now I'm sitting here like I can't believe people are buying this, but then you have to understand that to somebody that doesn't know, this explanation makes sense. They don't know what an albino is. They don't understand that that's a genetic condition. And even if they do understand that it's a genetic deficit, they 9 times out of 10 see white people as genetically inferior anyway, so that matches up.
Right.
But, that goes to say, we really need to look at these things. Why are black people more susceptible to diseases, to certain diseases than white people, and why are black people more resistant to other diseases than white people? The simple explanation for that is that we've encountered these diseases before. The reason why all of these plagues and all these other things that can catch hold in the black community and destroy the black community are so damaging in the black community is because we haven't experienced them before. But in Europe, they experience all kinds of plagues and pestilence and all kinds of other things.
Pestilence.
They have all kinds of immunities to all different types, to the different types of pathogens that black people don't have immunity to because we've never experienced them. But on the same end, we have immunity to certain things that we experience throughout our history that they haven't. So, we have to begin to understand it. Over time, biological differences manifest themselves in the form of evolution, in the form of mutation, in the form of dealing with viruses and plagues and diseases. And we come to where we are now, hundreds of thousands of years, millions of years after the first human of any kind appeared, hundreds of thousands of years after the first modern person appeared. Well, they say anyway. Some scholars, there's arguments as to when the first modern human appeared, but we're still thousands and thousands of years from that point, and we've evolved on a separate path. We have to also remember white people and black people have only been coexisting for the last 2,000 years at best. And I mean coexisting in large numbers.
Right.
So for the vast majority of human history, we were separate. And now we're working together and we're dealing with all these issues, and it's just completely frustrating and upsetting to know that under the guise of science, under the guise of treating what ails mankind, and under this pretentious and foolish guide of we're all one race, the human race, which don't even get me started on that bullshit. But under that foolish rhetoric of we're all one race, blah, 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 we are failing to acknowledge the differences. And we're failing not only the cultural differences, but also the biological differences, the genetic differences. We're failing to recognize that we are, in fact, two separate subgroups of humans. Can we coexist? Yes. Can we respect each other? Yes. But should we acknowledge the fact that we are not entirely the same? Of course we can. There are a bunch of different kinds of eagles out there. There are a bunch of different kinds of falcons. There are a bunch of different kinds of mice. There are a bunch of different kinds of snakes. A king cobra and a python are both the same snake. But they're not. But I mean, we really have to we got to get out of this whole we are the world bullshit. You look, yes, you are your world, and I am mine. Don't bring your world into my world, and I won't bring my world into your world. But at the same time, if you respect my world, I'll respect your world. But if you try to kill my world, we're going to launch all-out war on your world.
Right.
Not saying that we're going to get guns and bullets and start shooting people. I don't want nobody to pick that up.
But we will. But I feel you, and I think we also need to understand too. And I know if LT and David was here, they would be like going nuts about this, and it might be a subject we might want to deal with later on. Right? Is that I'm trying to put this politically correctly. Political correctness is the order of the day. We feel too much and don't think enough. We need to seriously examine the idea that there is something different between the brain and the mind. We need to seriously understand this dichotomy that heart that you have in your chest is anything more than a way to nutrients throughout your body. You see what I'm saying? We have this thought in our head about the heart. Man, that dude got heart. Man, that dude ain't got no heart. You see what I'm saying? Oh, that's my heart.
Mm-hmm.
I gave my heart to her. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
We need to get kind of halfway pump our brakes on the way that we look at our esoteric side. Let's put it like that. And that it is entirely within the realm of possibility that those chemical reactions that happen inside your brain that give rise to consciousness is just as important as that consciousness in itself. Because we can believe what we want to believe. I believe it, that there's something beyond this. You see what I'm saying? But on the other side of that coin, too, there's no real scientific way of proving it. We can talk about ghosts, we can talk about near-death experiences, we can talk about this, we can talk about that. If that's what you choose to believe, fine. I got my own beliefs. You see what I'm saying? I actually think that there's no possible way that there cannot be something beyond this. But how do we get from here to there? That's a matter of interpretation. How long we have to be here before we get there is a matter of interpretation. There are some scholars, there are some philosophers that think that, say for instance, reincarnation, that you got to pass through this form for many, many times before you reach the next level. The Indians believe in nirvana. They believe that, when you come back, and I know this is a butchery of it, so if it's any Buddhists out there, you can always come back and talk. And it might even be the Hindus. But you can always come on here and correct me or hit me on the wall and correct me. But they believe that if you was a dick while you was alive, you might come back as a cockroach. And that you have to pass through this realm many, many times before you reach nirvana, which is purity of thought, deed, feeling, etc., etc., etc. Believe what you want to believe about esoteric subjects, but never forget that you are a blood-pumping, atoms in your body human being. And you have to take care of that portion of your being just like you trying to take care of a part that you can't really define and or measure. You see what I'm saying? And I say all that to say this, like you said. Recognize the fact that there are differences between people. And part of the recognition of those differences is there should be just as much attention and just as much money spent on diseases and afflictions and, genetic abnormalities that affect minorities, just like there are when you look at those subjects in the quote-unquote majority, who are not even the majority. They are the majority of maybe Iowa, but are they the majority of this world? No. It's actually split up kind of evenly, really and truly.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying? But first world, third world problems. I thought I heard somebody beep. Did somebody join our show?
Yeah, I just joined in. I'm listening. How y'all folks doing?
We here. So you've been listening? What do you think?
No. I just joined in. I suggest listen, but I remember the topic is something. I'm assuming you're talking about big pharma right now because you're talking about genetics and things.
Right.
Yeah.
We just chopping it up on that, but we had moved kind of, a little bit of field of that particular subject because we had got off into, the physical and the material as opposed to the esoteric and the ephemeral. The word for the day is ephemeral.
I need to look. All right, let me get my dictionary. I'll be right back.
Now you got to spell it.
EPH.
Ephemeral.
But in any event, yeah, that's what we were talking about. We were talking about basically, and for those who just tuned in, the topic of discussion was actually why is there not as, much attention and as many funds spent on black diseases and black abnormalities as there is in white. And I had read an article earlier, and I was kind of surprised myself because, like I said, I consider myself well-read, that I didn't even know that it's like 98% to 2%. 98% of all funding and research funding is granted to the study of things that affect white people.
Of course.
Only 2% is spent on everybody else together.
But here's the thing. I mean, it's like I think Dr. Claude Anderson said. I mean, are we really expecting them to study things to help us? I mean, they're pretty good at creating diseases to kill us. There's patents on Ebola and HIV and all kinds of stuff, but there's still over 1 billion Africans in Africa, so it's not quite working the way they thought it would work. Whole thing about genetics and mutations, stuff like that. So, but no, I mean, those are things we're supposed to put money towards doing ourselves, and that's, I know most of you are probably not followers of the Nation of Islam, but there's one thing that you cannot deny is the one instruction that's given over and over again. We have to do for ourselves. It's that simple, and there are consequences for not doing for self. When you don't own your own media, then you're going to get beat upside the head with Ray Rice shit all day, and we.
Did we just lose David?
Yeah, he's still here, but he's on there and
If you on your own farms, then you're going to be, subject to. And it's just that simple.
I mean, and we really shouldn't be surprised. I mean, I've seen studies similar before. I don't know. I couldn't remember what the exact numbers were, but that sounds actually worse than the numbers I have. But to be honest, I mean, like I said, are we really surprised? You look at if you look at social media and you look at the ALS challenge, which like we always fuck it, I'm not even gonna say it. If you look at the ALS challenge, and you see, this is a disease that overwhelmingly affects middle-aged white men, and you have people all over the world doing this ice bucket challenge and donating money and talking about they one cousin Pookie who had ALS and he the only person in that whole city that got it. But blah blah blah, and they got and it's just like they're missing the whole point. It's not that we're saying don't donate to ALS. If you want to donate to ALS, it's fine. But what we're saying is when there's a call to action for some of these other diseases that primarily affect black people, don't marginalize them and don't be silent on them. And that's what all too frequently happens. We had the sickle cell challenge not too long ago. I didn't see anybody doing that. Right. I don't see anybody talking. We had Sickle Cell Awareness Month. That was either last month or this month. I can't remember. But I didn't see anybody participating in that. We have all of these things for predominantly black. And the only reason I made a couple posts about it, But we have all these things about, all these things that are supposed to be building awareness for traditionally black things, and nobody wants to talk about them. I'm convinced the only reason nobody's talking about fluoride poisoning is because it overwhelmingly affects black people, and it affects black people more seriously than it does affect the whites that do experience it. So they could, and that goes back to the study, so they could put fluoride in the water and say it has negligible effects on humans, because it does have negligible effects on white humans. Right. But on black kids, it has an extreme effect. That's why almost every black kid you see now has fluoride poisoning and all kinds of brittleness of their teeth. Their teeth are falling out of their heads. They got all these white stains all in their mouth and everything like that. That's because of the fluoride that's in the water. It's having an effect on the black kids that are drinking the water because they can't afford to go buy purified water.
Right.
But nobody's doing the research. We're not doing the research. You damn sure can't expect them to do the research. They just started recognizing you as a human being less than 100 years ago. Why are they going to research you? They don't even research their dogs like that. And they love them more than they love you.
Yes, sir.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, I'm a little frustrated today about a lot of things.
Well, it is what it is. That's what we come here for. We come here to pass our frustrations along. And a lot of people I know probably look at our podcast or look at the different things that we deal with and say, you know, all you guys talk about is, you know, y'all frustrations. And what I always say is it's hard to actually put our frustrations into words, really and truly. You know, because if you heard half of the things that was in my head as opposed to what's coming out of my mouth, you would be scared, because this is ridiculous. The level of, what's a good word for it? I'm going to get ready to make up a word right now. You heard it here, it's copyrighted. The level of I don't give a fuckishness that exists among my people. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. But and it's hard to carry that every day, because I read, like I say, every day, all day, and I look at different things, and I'd be like, why ain't we never thought about that? You know, do people realize just how much more that's going to affect us than it will the general population? You know, when are we going to wake up to the fact that basically this country is against us? In some ways, this whole world is against us. Basically, everybody that's got something is against us. And they really don't care if you're rich or poor. You see what I'm saying? And yeah, it's a pessimistic, cynical way of looking at life. I agree with that. I understand that. But that doesn't make it less true. To still align from my Christian brothers and sisters, you know, it's like believing in God. God does not require you to believe in him for him to exist. And we say the same thing about some of the things that we face in this country. It doesn't require you to believe it's true for it to be true. I know somebody was going to say something.
Well, I mean, but the deal is it requires you to not take action to continue to exist. And here's the rub is, white people have gotten this thing down on a cultural level, and you always have to remind people racism is a cultural thing. They've gotten this thing down to such a cultural level that they don't even think about it anymore. You can meet a white person that has not a single racist bone in their body, but they're participating in the culture. And that's where black people get caught up. They get caught up participating in the culture. It's difficult for them to think about the fact that they might not be the same on a genetic level. And then there's another thing too. We get caught up because the scientists will get on TV and say, well, there's only a 0.2% difference between or he'll say something crazy like that. There's only a 0.02% difference between the black genetic code and the white genetic code. So let us suffice to say that anything that affects us is going to affect them, and any improvements we can make on our own biology and genetics will be an improvement on their biology and genetics. But what people don't really understand is the significance of that. Look, there's only a 2% difference between humans and monkeys. And you see how big a difference that is?
It's only like 5% difference between us and a sea slug.
Wait a minute, it's only like an 8% difference between us and a fucking banana. Come on.
So
dude.
Yep.
People don't understand the significance of that 0.02%. Like, that's major. That's major. Hell, to be honest,
it's the difference between having a 9.0 earthquake and a 10.0. One notch is like 1,000 times different. You know what I mean? You're absolutely right, man.
Exactly. And this is the thing to remember. Look. Okay, we'll put it on a level you can really understand. Whatever difference there is between black people and white people is bigger than the difference there is between men and women.
That's
now, that little small, insignificant difference in one genetic marker is able to turn the human body from not having no breast and having a penis that sticks out to, you see the differences between men and women. I don't have to describe it. Now I feel like I'm being silly. But that difference between men and women is only on one chromosome, and you think about how different men and women are on every single level. On every single level, there is a difference. The way we think, we don't even see things the same way. Women see things in a wider panoramic view. They have a wide field of vision. Men have a very narrow field of vision, but it's very focused. So we can pick out one prey out of the herd. Women see the whole herd. Men say one goddamn buffalo. That's it. We don't even know the other one's there. That's why we go running in there, we liable to get ran over because we don't see the other ones. But that's, but people, and that's why I say black people really need to get into genetics. We got to get into biology, genetics. We got to get into the science. We got to take the sciences more seriously.
That is true. Well, we down to our last 14, 15 minutes of the show. We winding it down today. We're going to try and stay within an hour. And free for all, what I like to call the lightning round. David, you up first. You got 1 minute to talk to me about prepping. You know what prepping is? Of course you do.
I don't.
Say again, brother. I got how many minutes to talk about what?
You got 1 minute to talk about prepping. We're going to do a larger piece on this. We're going to deal with this.
Did you say prepping?
Prepping.
Okay.
And we're going to do a larger show about this. This is something that Erica basically came up with on the page. And are we prepared for a natural disaster? Are we prepared for a nationwide Katrina as a people? Not talking about in general as American citizens. I'm talking about us black folks in the hood. Are we prepared? Give me 1 minute on that. Starting now.
Well, in a sense, we're not, because we're not buying precious metals. We don't have farmland. We don't have property. Sorry about the noise in the background. There's a lot of those things that we don't have, and we definitely haven't stored up things because we live day to day anyway. But because we live day to day, we are prepared, in a sense, to deal with the notion of surviving. And that's one thing we can do. So, I'm not trying to be wishy-washy here. I'm just stating something that is known, i.e., whenever white folks lose their money, they jump out of windows. Black folks ain't going to jump out of windows if they go broke, because we've been broke before. So So in a sense, we're prepared because of hundreds of years of dealing with this bullshit. But in terms of having land and resources and all of that on standby, no, not at all.
And that is 1 minute from David on the head. I'm impressed. Patrick.
I do what I can do, you know.
Patrick, give me a minute.
Mine's going to be shorter than a minute because basically, like David said, you know, we prepared to be broke because we already broke. No preparation needed. We're there. But as far as natural disasters, as far as being able to survive and exist without the system that's set up around us, no, we're not prepared. We don't know how to grow food. We don't know how to irrigate land. We don't know how to help. To be honest, we wouldn't even know how to tear the street up to get at the ground underneath it. So, no, we're not prepared. And that's it.
That's a good point, though. That is an excellent point. I'm going to go longer than a minute because, you know, being the host has its privileges. Not only are we not ready, I don't think that there's even a desire for us, for the most part, to even get ready. Because in order for you to be ready, you have to have an idea of just what you might face, which is something that we as a people don't do. We don't have an idea of what's coming next. We like the old, you know, stereotype or the urban legend myth or whatever of ostriches hiding their heads in the sand to protect themselves from danger. Now, whether or not that's true or not, I don't know. I don't know if they read ostrich minds now or something. I don't know. Somebody came up with that like decades ago, that's why they do that. But that's where that particular analogy came from. We, as a people, tend to look at life as, well, they ain't going to let nothing like that happen because it'll affect them too. So in other words, we not going to prepare because we feel like the general dominant culture is already preparing. And we just going to go along for the ride. It's like taking Katrina again, for example. How many people who witnessed what happened in Katrina didn't really put one and one together to get two? They didn't really look at that situation and say, hold it, wait a minute. Why the fuck we the only ones got to be evacuated? You know, why the fuck we can't just walk away from some danger? You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Why are we in a position where we are bounded by miles and miles of concrete? You know, we are bounded by natural rivers, hills, mountains, while if something coming down, white people can just basically disperse into the land. You know what I mean? We got to fight our way out the city and then fight our way into the country to be able to survive. Because if you think you're going to survive in the middle of one of those cities, you are sorely mistaken. What happens if you call the police and the police don't come because they're not there? Because they have families too. And if my job is to protect and serve, my job is to protect and serve is going to take a back seat to my love for my family. You see what I'm saying? If something big enough, I'm not out here protecting your shit. I'm going home and protect my family. People don't look at it like that. People don't look at it like, for instance, I think I said something about this the other day, that massive solar flare that just missed the Earth last week. How many of us actually even knew anything about that, for one thing?
Mm-hmm.
How many of us know that a large enough X-class solar flare could basically put the lights out in this country for the next 4 to 5 years? Lights out. No electricity. Burn out every electrical circuit, every electrical line in the United States, a big enough one. Yeah, the chances of it is happening is less than your chance of getting hit by a car, but it's better than your chance of hitting a fucking Powerball. You see what I'm saying? Yeah, we used to. Yeah, lights go off for a week. So what? Couldn't pay the bill. Forgot about the bill. Tree fell on a line. That the hood is the last thing they fix. You see what I'm saying? Yeah, we've been without lights for a week. Can you do it without lights for 30 days? Can you do it without lights for a year? How do you refrigerate your food? Your daughter's a diabetic. How do you refrigerate her insulin? What do? You see what I'm saying? We're not prepared for that. Now, agreed, most of the white population is not prepared either. There's a very small subset of them, just like there's a very small subset of us that actually have thought about these things. You see what I'm saying? That are trying to do something to make it easier, at least for themselves and their immediate loved ones, if not for everybody. There are sites and sites and sites and pages and pages and pages, that's dedicated to you motherfuckers need to know how to sew, because when some shit tear, you ain't going to be able to go to Walmart and get some more. There's a subset of people out there that say, hey, look, do you really realize that without antibiotics, as weak as we are as a species of people, you fuck around and step on a rusty nail in the aftermath of a major disaster, you might fucking die of sepsis, because there's no penicillin to take. There's no whatever the rest of them that they, cyclotron or whatever it is that they give people. There's none of that around, because those things require electricity to make. There is no army to come save you. There is no National Guard to come save you, because when shit get really deep, they going home to their family too. So, that was my minute. And I wish, like I said, I wish Erica was on, because Erica was actually the one who brought that up in the page, But of course, she had other things to do today, so I guess she'll listen to it and maybe she might touch on it tomorrow. But I want to do a wider discussion of that and what we can do to actually get ready. Because I like what David said about the fact that we don't own any land. There's no place for us to go, Because the fact of the matter remains, if we leave the city, white people are not going to basically welcome us with open arms. That's not how that works, If they have a few acres or what have you to be able to support the people that's already there, why do you think they are going to put stress on that food supply by accepting you? Why? Because you in need? That's not how it works. Just like you can't go next door to your immediate neighbor unless y'all just Jimmy Jam, Terry Lewis cool. You can't just walk over there and say, hey, look, my family hungry. We done ran out of, food. Can I share some of your food? That's not how that works. Because first thing you're going to start thinking about, I got 5 mouths to feed in this house. You see, I don't have it like that. Ain't no more EBT. The swipe machines don't work, My credit card don't work. My debit card don't work. It's a cash-only world. And that's only going to last for about 6 months, because once you get all of that cash, what are you going to do with it? You can't take it to the bank. The bank doesn't have power either. You see what I'm saying? Those are the things, those are the bigger things that we got to think about. It's not just about having a few, cans of Campbell's soup. It's deeper than that. Water source. Could live for, a month without food? Could live for a week without water? Where you get water in the inner city when the taps don't run? They run on electricity too. You gonna drink out the toilet? What happens when it don't flush? What happens when you flush it and it don't come back up? What you gonna drink? I just go to the store. What happens when the store ain't got water? Now you getting people shot for a bottle of fucking Niagara, a bottle of Evian to get your brains blowed out because ain't nobody got water in the inner city. So that's what preppers are talking about. And I still went too long. Anyway, anybody got anything else to add to that?
Nope.
I just talked y'all to death.
I mean, I just ain't got nothing to add to it. I mean, like you said, not only do we not want to prep, or not only are we not prep, but we don't want to prep. and we don't know how to prep. And that illusion that people have that society ain't gonna let that happen. Look, society wasn't supposed to let a lot of things happen that have happened.
I'm trying to
so
tell you.
you can't just assume. And over the last 10, 20 years, we should have learned by now that basically society is being run by monkeys in suits. They don't know what's going on. Half of them, they so wrapped up in their own self-interest. A lot of them, I don't even think they realize that they are actually in control of an entire country. I don't think they realize it. So, at this point, we got to start thinking differently. Unfortunately, black people saying it ain't enough because, like I think it was David said before, we don't have good credit. We need a cosigner.
We need a cosigner, straight up.
We need to find a token white person to be on the show that can be our cosigner.
That is for sure.
How frustrating is that, Patrick?
Oh man, we could make a whole show on that. We make a whole show on that. Some of us been screaming fire for the last 10 plus years, and people ain't been, man.
People still sitting there watching the movie.
Right. Now when people be talking about Dr. Claude Anderson sounds so negative now. He just a nasty, bitter old man. Wouldn't you be bitter for the last 40 years you was telling black people to do something and they weren't listening and everything you said came true time after time after time exactly when you said it would happen, and everything you told black people to invest in, they didn't invest in, and it blew up? I got video recordings of Dr. Claude Anderson in the 70s and 80s telling black folks to get involved in bottled water. I got videos of Dr. Claude. I got lectures of Dr. Claude Anderson in the 80s telling black folks to get involved in the seafood business, the distribution of seafood, before China came in and took over the market. I got videos of Dr. Claude Anderson telling black people decades before to do things, and we just haven't done them. So now he's bitter, and he got every right to be bitter.
Yes, he do.
I mean, he should know because what, he was the Secretary of Commerce or something?
Yeah, he was. Yes. You got people on FAMU campus. Last time I was over there, talking trash about Dr. Claude Anderson, not even knowing that Dr. Claude Anderson wrote a grant that saved that school from being closed down back in the 70s and 80s.
Right.
He saved your school, and you talking trash about him. Yeah, but black people don't like history.
That is true. And with that, I think we've come to the end of Daily Show number 22.
You got to do 2 minutes with Jalal. 2 positive minutes with Jalal.
2 positive minutes with Jalal. Man, that's rough because I be truly impressed with what Jackson could do, because I'm like, let me see. They only killed 12 people last night in Chicago. The previous day they killed 17. Come
on.
I mean, it's hard not to be pessimistic. But now, on the real though, I'm gonna give it 1 minute of positivity with Jalal. Listen, we may come across as being the most cynical, negative people that you have ever heard in your life, especially on radio. But what is actually true is that our frustration stems from our love of our people. And if we didn't love you the way that we love you, for all of your strengths and weaknesses, you would never hear from us. And we love you because no matter what we have gone through, no matter whose boot has been on our neck, no matter what trials and tribulations that we have actually went through in this world, I'm not even going to say in this country, in this world, we still here. And we still moving forward. Some people might think we're moving backwards, and in some instances we are. But as a people, we're moving forward. Every day there's more of us than it was yesterday. Every day we making it just a little bit further up that road than we did yesterday. And that's all that we need to keep in mind, that our job on this planet is to move forward. Our job on this planet is that when the end comes, we still here. And for Patrick, and for David, and for all of our podcast panelists who are not here today, I am Jane, LT, Big Brother Jackson. Jane. I am Jane. You are Jane. My bad. Did I say I am Jane?
Yes, you did.
My bad. You are Jane. Big Brother Jackson. He like the leader of the frat in school days. Anyway, Big Brother Jackson. I want to thank all of y'all for listening to us run off at the mouth today. Remember, this podcast will be on YouTube later on today, because unless something happened in the background and we didn't get recorded, we'll be up. And so if you missed any of the show, if you got on late or you wasn't able to finish or what have you, you go to YouTube and basically watch our video podcast. You can also subscribe to that page. That way you will get a notification every time that we post something new. Patrick, did you do an interview last night?
Yes, I did.
Tell me about your interview, bro. Because I saw it, but by the time I saw it, I was at work and I didn't get off fast enough to jump on it.
Well, we're gonna do I'm gonna do another one with that same individual. But I was interviewing Joseph Ward. He's a black activist. He's one of the most pro-black people I've ever met in my life. I kid you not. But he's a black activist doing work out of Florida. He actually created the On the Shoulders of Giants page, where his goal with that is to have a video and a pamphlet written for every single day of the year, so that you can learn something new about some black figure or some black movement in history for every single day of the year. Wow. He's already producing his YouTube videos. He's already written the first chapter or the first series in his series of books. He's out there speaking out for black people. He's organizing in Florida, and he's really making some things happen. He organized a summer school program for underprivileged kids this summer in Florida. So he's doing a lot, but he's one of the most militant pro-black people you'll ever meet. I was a little surprised by some of the things he was saying. Not that they was wrong, just I was surprised that somebody was actually saying it.
Somebody was going that hard.
Right. So I'm going to do another one with him and schedule it properly and appropriately so that he can get all of the recognition and attention that he deserves.
Right. Did you tape it?
No, I didn't even tape it. That's why I said we're going to do another one.
Oh, yeah, you got to do that again. And so, as I was saying, you just subscribe to the page and you won't just get simply the UI Daily Show. What you'll also get is other things that we might be doing that we might load onto that page, because, we hear more than just 1 to 2 o'clock or 1:15 to 2:19. We hear longer than that, and we do different things on this page. So, for that, I also want to remind you guys, Revolution might not be televised, but it must be funded. I implore you, go to urbanintellectuals.com/members, join our cause. $24 a year, $2 a month. You spend $2 every day on nothing. You lose $2 in the cushions of your couch every day. Donate to the cause. If you don't want to be a member and you just want to give funds to the cause, urbanintellectuals.com/donate. We take all forms of currency. We take money. We take debit cards, credit cards. We even take Bitcoins. We take it all. Donate to the cause. And for that, I'm Jalal Tariq. I thank you guys for listening, and we'll catch you tomorrow, 1 o'clock-ish.